Worst thing you can do is shake a baby in anger. That's one of the worst things you can do. You can, in fact, damage not only a baby's brain, but their eyes as well. I remember when I first heard of that when I was a kid, about how people would get mad and be frustrated or couldn't take a baby's cries, like the photo when it says don't break or take a break. It says take a break, don't shake, right? That's an endorsement of showing you what not to do when a baby is getting a screaming, is to call somebody and have them come help you or something, to console the baby if you don't really know and understand how to deal with that, because that's to say a life can be lost or permanently damaged. Like, subscribe, ID in the Discovery channel. Yes, ID in the Discovery channel. The links are provided below. Get that Discovery Go app as well as that ID Go app. You might want to get those two, combine them together, make them into one. So, Olin Shane Tannery, age 39 years old, pleaded not guilty Friday, November 2nd, 2018 to second-degree murder for the death of his 20-year-old son, Dominique Jordan Pitsenberg. To roll too many letters together all at once is to say, yeah, it's gonna piss somebody off. So I'm gonna call him by his first name so I don't brutally do anything damaging with that. Dominique. Let's say 20-year-old Dominique was the child in the end that died. His father, yes, once again, November 2nd, second-degree murder for the death of his 20-year-old son, Dominique. The father pleaded not guilty. Dominique died, that's the son of the father. He died on April 13th, 2018. Remember, he was 20 years old when I said how shaking baby syndrome can lead to lifelong damage, prolonged damage. Because to endure that and then reach the age of 20 is to say, how were you able to live through that sort of thing? Not just the shaking baby situation that occurred, but now shaking baby syndrome, as in the after effects of now what you're living with up until the age of 20. See what I'm saying with that? That young boy, baby, endured that and actually survived and lived through it. But the damage was completely there to the fact to die off at 20 is to say, well, man, that's sad. It makes me question how much in pain was even the baby in, as the baby was enduring being shook half to death, as well as the child was growing up to hit the age of 20. How much pain was in that? Sometimes people don't question enough. That's why that father needs to, in fact, serve life. Dear dumb fuck loser, I must say that. That has to be, in fact, said and not soft-spoken. To put a few words out there and not be short-term with that and be long-term is to make even that father over there serve life. It just has to be said. So, Dominique's father, Tannery, who shook a young Dominique as a child, he spent near a decade in prison for the shaking. That's why I said about because for me to know that you done serve whatever is to say you must in fact not do short term. No, you must do long term. That's not enough. You serving a decade and that's it. And then this young baby goes off and died despite him being 20. Not enough. So back in 1998, Dominique was just only 6 weeks old. He was a 6-week-old baby when the tragedy occurred of being shook half to death at the hands of his father. Just this week, or should I say just this past week, seeming I wrote this and the timing is moving forward right. Just this week, Tannery was indicted for murder. Dominique, despite being 20 years old, I said he died from the complications of enduring everything, right? That's so sad, because what I would want to say, well, if it's going to be that bad, not to say I wish that the child would have died, but I somewhat sort of do. as a baby was being shook and have it done and over with. Because there has to be pain in that. You don't know what type of physical damage was done, as in it was, and how long over the years, even say pain medication or something may have had to be given to that young boy. And if the father was taking care of him the way that he was, shaking him, is to say, well, after the shaking syndrome had taken over the young baby's body at 6 weeks old, once the damage was done, not only how much pain was there, I said that, but what if the father wasn't giving the child no pain medication? That's to say that baby could have been up in the middle of the night screaming all type of ways, or possibly not being able to vocalize based upon damage. So the baby could have possibly been having a lot of internal pain and not being able to scream and cry no more since the brain was damaged. I'm gonna leave that alone because stuff like that make me highly angry. In relation to, I'm just saying, it's the simple fact to call somebody. Many of us have been known to get frustrated with babies that it ain't even our own babies. Hell, I get frustrated with the dog, right? Put him in the other room somewhere or something. What that? So Tannery is being held in custody on a $500,000 bond. He was taken into custody on October 31st. Yes, on Wednesday, which was in fact Halloween. He was taken into custody on October 31st, Wednesday, a day after being indicted by a grand jury in Clay County. August 1999, Tannery pleaded guilty to attempted first-degree assault he committed towards his son. That was back in 1999. He served 13 years and was then released in 2007 from prison. So the injuries when it comes to shaken baby syndrome and the death that might in fact await you or find you if you're a young child enduring that. When young Dominique was 6 weeks old, the injuries he sustained during the shaking taking place after it was done and the process and once it was over, the injuries he sustained was subdural bleeding, severe head injuries, rib fractures, and much more than that. There's much more deeper up that ain't even hitting the surface. It's embedded, I'm saying. And now that he's gone, rest in peace with even that. That's lifeless to even endure severe head injuries. Because even the pain sensories, we all have pain sensors. Hell, we got gut sensors. Our internal GPS can be knocked out of place and yet not even completely physically. But you can beat a child half to death with even that, the shaken baby syndrome, to the fact that they might be so damaged they don't even feel pain. You don't know. Or like I said, they can feel pain, be screaming internally and yet not be able to vocalize it. No, that's a no-go. So, all in which defined shaken baby syndrome was committed on a young Dominique. And the reason for, Tannery told authorities he shook the baby to make him quiet down. He squeezed the baby. This is in fact what the police mentioned. The police officer mentioned he squeezed the baby, picked him up, and threw the baby down forcefully. Just to quiet the baby down. It in fact happens. It in fact does, because children can be in fact frustrating, right? But I'm thinking you might in fact want to take the baby, put them in the crib, close the door, put them in another room or something like that. That's for anybody, even a viewer that's watching. Sounds less complicated, possibly complicated, especially to guys when they can't handle that sort of thing. You got guys that have anger issues, right? There's ways to deal with that. Put them in another room. Let them cry it out. 6 weeks old is a little bit too young. That's to ask, well, where's the mother? Where was the mother with that? Where was the grandmother? Where was somebody else that could have played as guardian figure when this man couldn't take the baby screaming? such as a womanly figure, because she's more likely able to deal with. Not all women can, and yet somebody else should have been available around to handle that situation. The baby crying and quieting it down so that he wouldn't have taken it as far. But for the fourth time, 6 weeks old is too young to allow a baby to cry it out. And yet if you have to, you just have to, so that you don't physically harm the baby by just moving the baby to another room and walking out, close the door, and possibly the baby go to sleep. Possibly, hopefully, right? So that's that way guilt ain't on your own hands. Breaking of the neck or something, right? Damage being done. After the damage was done by ways of Dominique's father, the end result of that, the diagnosis was severe retinal bleeding. The shaken baby syndrome. There has to be a diagnosis which in fact meets that. The after effects, and it goes by a name. Once again, it's severe retinal bleeding. Not only was it that severe retinal bleeding, but also severe permanent brain damage. That was the two names, as in the full diagnosis. Severe retinal bleeding and severe permanent brain damage was the diagnosis. A young Dominique had to be adopted. That's so sad that you got to be pulled away from your own parent to be placed elsewhere so somebody else could raise you. The individual who adopted him goes by the name of Wendell Pitsenberg was the individual that adopted a young Dominique. And what he said was he misses him dearly. He misses him, and he has so many memories of the child. Messy. Dominique is remembered by his adoptive family as loving to wheel around his house in his wheelchair, shooting hoops such as basketball, and having a love for both Sesame Street, yes, watching it on TV, and playing with fire trucks. He too was a 2017 graduate of Smithville High School. That's completely sad and horrendous at that. The court date. Tannery will appear in court on November 20th, 2018. That is in fact coming up soon enough. And not in a few weeks. No, it's coming up soon enough. That's when he will be going to court. And possibly he's going to face life. I don't know why I could see that coming for him. I'm saying he should, despite the justice system being so fucked up. Sorry for the F. No pun intended. And yet that's a wild card from my own end being pulled on even his own ass about that. That's a serious note. No misquote involved. So recommended for you. Recommended for you. Shouts out to Paula. And shouts out to Lieutenant Joe Kenda, my dude. Fatal Vows. Each one holds a description. Add to favorites is to click the plus sign. Disappeared. Unmasked. Unlocked episodes. The Last Defense, Season 1, Episode 1. Title. Description. Add to watch later. Click the plus sign. On last night, to click the key is to gain access. Padlock to open up, right? Season 6, Episode 12. Click to gain access is to provider, subscriber, however you choose to word it right. And you would in fact gain access to these sort of things. Getting in. Helps to be well engineered even in that. Well engineered even if it's basic. Gaining access, getting in. Time tells, as in what's to come next. Possibly a commercial. That's a joke, right? ID Go original series. Same thing. Shows of all kinds. Schedule preview. Support the Save the Children's hurricane relief efforts. You can click here to donate. That's a good deed to humanity. The click within here, you're going to infect. To click within here, you're going to be in fact directed outside to the crime feed news. Yes, crimefeed.com is where all the latest and greatest in murder, mayhem, and destruction in fact sits. It's there. It awaits you. Bad parenting, parents killing their children like this individual up above me. Florida, crazy news of Florida, all type of things, categories in which human beings love to sit and entertain themselves with. To receive a newsletter is in fact type an email address in and click next, and you will receive a newsletter with that. What do you think, sense, and believe about this father? Where does he need to go? Does he need to go to the pen or up under the pen? Or does he need to be placed in the ground, as in a hole, burial spot, what even that, as in what he has done to his own son? I said that before accidents happen, and yet this isn't one of those situations. That's too bad. May the young Dominique rest in peace. Just saying. Why does stuff like that have to happen to innocent people? Why does stuff have to happen to innocent people as all the crazy folks get to just walk and roam free, terrorizing and doing certain things to people? When I mean terrorizing, I mean not in a goofy way. I've been known to terrorize people in a goofy, laughing way. Not like that, but more brutally killing people. Why is that? The world just seems so backward sometimes. Good people don't get off. Bad people do. Seems to be life. So drop a dime. Yes, a line down in the comment section. Let me know what you feel about that. And that's all to be said for now, and I'm gone.